Toxic chemical spills are no big deal for America's Transportation Secretary. Health concerns are growing in Ohio despite assurances that everything is safe. Pete Buttigieg giving his first media interview on the disaster and downplayed what happened.
Rail safety is something that has evolved a lot over the years, but there's clearly more that needs to be done because while this horrible situation has gotten a particularly high amount of attention, there are roughly 1,000 cases a year of a train derailing.
Buttigieg also said that he hopes to get to know some of the folks who are impacted by this, but claims the reason he hasn't visited is that he wants to respect the investigation. East Palestine Mayor Trent Conaway thinks Pete staying away is a good idea.
It was just a dog and pony show. They've sort of let us hang out to dry here. As far as Mayor Pete, as people like to call him, I would rather he just stay away. He is just going to cause a circus, and unless he's going to bring a shovel and shovel some dirt and get rid of this contaminated soil, that's the only reason he would need to come to this town. We have a town of 4,700 people that are scared, want answers, and as far as the federal government's concerned, I don't have much faith in them. They were late to the dance, as I like to say, and our people deserve better.
Ohio's governor and the Biden EPA continued to say that the town's drinking water shows no sign of contamination, and they want residents to trust them.
If people want to go different places and want more assurances or want time to pass a little bit, they have a right to do that. But for those who can't, I am asking that they trust the government. And that's hard. We know that there is a lack of trust, which is why the state and the federal government have pledged to be very transparent.
But locals are having a hard time trusting the government when they can still smell toxins in the air and they can see a chemical rainbow in the creeks.
It is a really scary situation, and we are very concerned as a community.
We don't know what to believe at this point. We have so many people telling us so many different things.
The amount of chemicals, cancer-causing chemicals that were released and what we're left to deal with, we need a little bit of guidance here.
My throat's been burning. I've had a horrible cough, sneezing, just congestion. My eyes have burned. It's scary.
Okay, Shannon, I'm going to start with you. Since this happened on February the 3rd, FEMA was nowhere to be found. The federal government was nowhere to be found. And in fact, the federal government is now telling Governor DeWine that they're not eligible for FEMA assistance. And yet this EP administrator, Michael Reagan, I think his name is saying, oh, everything's safe. Trust the government. Could he have thought of a dumber thing to say? Because clearly these people feel that they've been forgotten. They actually have hundreds in this town of less than 5,000 people who show up for meetings. Buttigieg is nowhere to be found, and neither is Norfolk Southern, and FEMA's not there. What's going on there?
I think that when you tell people to trust the government, the instinct is no thank you. All of the recent polling shows that trust in institutions is just completely eroding. Pew had one in recent months that said only 20% of Americans say they trust the government to do the right thing most of the time. So these people are very distrustful, and they should be, because we're 2 weeks into this now, and a lot of people have never heard of it, or they've only heard it until the last day or two. There's plenty of blame to go around here, but when you have Secretary Buttigieg saying things like, oh, there are 1,000 derailments or more every year, well, you could say to people like, there are thousands of crimes a year. But when it hits you and your family and your neighborhood, that's real world. And these people, most of them cannot just go stay in a hotel or go to their second home. They don't have one. Mm-hmm. They're surviving moment to moment. And I'm sure they would love for a lot of people to show up and say, this is how we are going to step in and help you.
Jesse, Pete Buttigieg saying there are many trail derailments a year ignores the fact that there were toxic chemicals, vinyl chloride, that's mixed with wheat, seminola, and frozen vegetables. Nobody's talking about the fact that there is food on board with hazardous waste. And this guy, Buttigieg, is so clueless. He's like, oh, this is just a derailment. No, it's not.
That's why he didn't get a lot of votes in the primary. Remember, black voters never even gave the guy a look. One of the main reasons is because the guy has got no heart. He's got no passion. He has no empathy. He's a technocrat. He's a McKinsey guy that just sees numbers. He doesn't see people. What you want to do is you want to go there and you want to embrace the town. Literally embrace them with your arms, but he can't be bothered to do that. He says he wants to respect the investigation by not going. This would be like if Jesse Jr. just spilled everything all over the floor. And my wife, Emma, says, you know, Jesse, can you come help clean it up? And I say, sorry, I'm going to stay over here and respect the cleanup. That doesn't make any sense.
But has it happened, Jesse?
You know what? And I was treated like Mayor Pete after I used that line.
Yep.
I'm not even going to make a second joke. You have to be there, and life is about showing up. Also, the New York Times is now coming out and blasting conservative commentators for saying that they're speculating too much and that they're sowing distrust of the government. Well, wait a second. The New York Times is speculating that we're all going to die in 10 years if we don't stop using plastic straws. Sorry, I'm speculating that there was a toxic train wreck that might give everybody cancer. And sorry that I don't trust the government. The government's lied to you. Barack Obama, the Messiah, said the drinking water in Flint, Michigan was clean.
And so did his EPA.
And so did his EPA. So now all of a sudden they're going to say it again. Sorry, trust but verify.
Yeah, but in the same EPA from Flint, Michigan, and also from 9/11, and Jessica, you can speak to this better than anyone, given the loss that you've suffered. You know, we now have Senator J.D. Vance saying that when he puts a stick in a creek, it whips up a chemical rainbow. Yeah. And that there are dead fish, there are no birds flying in the sky. And then you've got DeWine and the EPA and everyone criticizing, saying the water is safe. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's evident quite clearly not safe. And you'd be out of your mind, frankly, or with very little options if you're going to be drinking the drinking water. And I know that they're delivering a lot of bottled water, but we talked about this yesterday. I think you need to get everyone out of there until you can be completely sure there's no problem where your creeks don't have oil spills in it, and you're not getting an iridescent showing there. Governor DeWine was on with Fox and Friends this morning, and Brian and Ainsley really held his feet to the fire.
They did.
Brian got really angry. And it's been 2 weeks, right? So the story has really only kind of, I'd say the last 2 or 3 days taken hold of a national audience. It was obviously an incredibly big deal in Ohio, and we weren't paying enough attention to it. Mm-hmm. And people are frightened. I saw a grandfather who takes care of his 3 granddaughters who was interviewed last night. The kids were covered in rashes until a couple of days ago. Showed all of the pictures of it. That's irrefutable evidence that something is not right. Is it going to cause cancer? I have absolutely no idea. But you know that you don't want to be there. And to Pete Buttigieg's point about the 1,000 derailments, I do think it is important to talk about this as a safety problem. It became a big issue in 2014. There was a crash similar to this in New Jersey, where there were toxic chemicals on board. And the Obama administration put forward a new rule that they wanted to get passed for regulating trains to upgrade the brake systems if it had petroleum on it as well as toxic chemicals. And that got watered down to remove the toxic chemicals part of it, which I think is the most important component. And then Norfolk Southern and other railroad industry honchos, and you talked about this yesterday, Jesse, lobbied governments, and in 2017, during the Trump administration, were able to pull back a rule that would have upgraded Civil War era brake systems. Civil War era.
Well, that was Congress that actually did that.
I said during the Trump years, though. That's relevant Congress because everyone. Okay, Trump is perfect. The point is, the brake systems need to be upgraded. We know that this is a problem. It has been a problem for some time, and this will continue to happen. And I think that's what Pete Buttigieg was talking about.
All right, Tom, wrap it up.
I got an idea. How about from now on, every train has to have one car filled with toxic masculinity. Then when there's a spill, Democrats will pay attention, right? What about the irony of this? This town, first of all, I love this town. They have a very Duck Dynasty vibe. I want to hang there when everything's all cleaned up. I want to hang with these people, shoot some guns, things like that. But these are the people, these blue-collar people were told they couldn't leave their house because of a virus. They had to mask their children because of a virus. Now they're saying, hey, drink the shiny water. Everything's okay. I mean, they have flipped completely. What happened to an abundance of caution? They're telling everyone, you know, everything's fine when it's obviously not fine. It's almost like it's unbelievable, the flipping of risk assessment, right?
Yeah.
Well, We'll see what happens, but I really want to know who's ordering and who's doing the testing, as you spoke about yesterday.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.